Bitcoin up about $3,000 from its Thursday low, and the question of the day is this the rebound that all of the Bitcoin boolas of the world are looking for, or is this just going to be a little bit of misplaced hopium? As we get into today's video, there are a few things, especially correlators to Bitcoin, that I do think have some more strong signals than Bitcoin, which can be perhaps more dependable in this case, just because it's more obvious going on over there. But before I get into it, I should let you know that myself and Elsa have been pretty fucking sick these last few days. I'm starting to finally feel a little bit better now, like kind of, sort of, and she's probably in the thick of things because she got a little bit later than myself. But yeah, if you're trying to reach out to support, which is Elsa, things are going to be a little bit slow probably for the next couple of days, just as she kind of works these things off. She's been sleeping most of the day, you know, as the flu, I guess, goes away, or at least hopefully goes away. So let's jump into it right here. I want to start off with an analysis of gold because, well, gold is having the most obvious signal. It is having a breakout here. The last time we even looked at gold was like way back on over here in June, I think, on a live stream. We said, hey, breakout looks good, give a little time to consolidate, but you're likely looking at continuation. That is what we're getting right here. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Bitcoin and gold have generally had kind of like a strong correlation between each other. You know, they work hand in hand, and narratively speaking, you know, gold is gold and Bitcoin is thought of as, you know, digital gold. So if you are still looking at that relationship as secure or relevant, I guess better said, not Bitcoin, but gold breaking out here is certainly a good sign for Bitcoin. As we can see, gold is having hidden bullish evidence on this breakout. Not only that, but also maintaining in the bullish control zone for the first time really since, you know, the February run began, when gold was trading at like $2,000 leading up to the rally towards basically kind of where it's at right now, 2,500 or so. On top of that, we're seeing volatility increase on this breakout. So that to me is also a really strong signal that this breakout is real. I mean, it's not even like a signal at this point. I mean, it is real. Is it in the room with us right now or not? Or the breakout seems to be in the room with us actually. And over here on the monthly, we can see, I just think it's a little more obvious. You can see that things are just riding that red 5 exponential moving average, which is essentially like your trending moving average at this point. And you know, the breakout is real. It's just, I mean, it's continuation. The monthly is just continuation of trend, I should say. The weekly breakout is real. And you know, we should continue to look upwards and onwards from here. I mean, I guess we can come up with some areas of interest to the upside, doing a nice little Fibonacci extension. And next major one's going to be about 2550, but not a huge one, at least for me. The ones above there is more like 2,800-ish, a little bit above 2,800. It's gonna be the next like big one, but that's obviously gonna take some time to get hit, assuming that it does get hit, which, you know, I do think that it likely will. Just going to take time, obviously. Anyways, why is this relevant? Well, we can actually look at Bitcoin versus gold. Bitcoin represented by this line chart right here, and gold represented by this chart right here. That my cursors were respectively on. You can see that the correlation coefficient is generally quite high between the two. Yes, sometimes they do have negative correlations, absolutely, but you can see that those are very short-lived, and more often than not, things are in the strong correlation zone, strong positive correlation zone, I should say. And what this red line represents is a regression of the correlation coefficient, and you know, you can see that that generally stays quite high as well. So ultimately, what does that imply? It implies that we expect these things to kind of move hand in hand, but maybe not on the exact same time frame schedule. But we have seen in the past that gold is actually the first mover. In some cases, we see gold kind of putting in its highs before Bitcoin does, namely this run over here in August of 2020. Obviously, Bitcoin put in its highs like 6 months later. It's kind of, you know, like a lag of 6 months there. On the lows, seems like they're actually pretty close to each other. But again, even then, gold does seem to actually trade a little bit ahead of Bitcoin in this instance right here by a few months as well. Just looking at these 2022 lows. So, you know, overall, this is, again, like hopium sort of analysis, just because, you know, when you're looking at something else other than the asset that you're actually interested in, like it's just not as tangible, obviously. but it makes for some good YouTube content. And with Bitcoin, we haven't really seen anything super new in the last like few days or the last week really. But it can kind of help out with some biases here, because Bitcoin, I think, is a little bit less obvious than gold. Gold, what is an obvious. It's like my brain's breaking right now. Gold is an obvious breakout and a continuation. So, does that bode well for Bitcoin? I would say generally yes. Anyways, moving on from there, and kind of following up on yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. Again, we got that move to $56,000. Great. We're getting the bounce from that number as well. Great. But nothing really matters, for the bears or the bulls, as long as Bitcoin's kind of, trading between basically Thursday's low and Thursday of the 8th of August's high. Nothing really changes here, but there are a few things turning in the background now, which, if Bitcoin is going to really pull itself through, does suggest that it actually likely is from this move here. But I want to outlay some things really, just like directly. Look, if Bitcoin comes back down below Thursday's low, about $56,000, and closes a higher term time frame below there, just get ready for a real downside. By the same token, until that happens, can we see a nice bounce here? Yeah, I mean, a little bit of volatility contraction should likely lead towards one more try somewhere around $60,000. And we kind of almost even got that. I mean, we kind of did get that yesterday. The high of yesterday is 59,850. But again, I do think that we could have another move somewhere around there, maybe like $61,000. Again, it doesn't really do anything for the actual price, but I guess a little bit of fun in the short term. Of course, in the short term, Saturday is one of the lowest volatility. It's not one of the lowest. It is the lowest volatility day for Bitcoin. So we shouldn't expect too much here. 1% on both sides in terms of average gains versus average losses. Just like not much, man, not much. But what is interesting to me is that we did see this setup fire off over here again. Now, this setup, this is the daily 5 exponential moving average setup, where it's a very simple one. Basically, Bitcoin closes above the 5 exponential, it initiates a long, and when it closes below, it closes that long. It's that fucking simple. And well, I mean, there are a few other conditions on it. Let me actually just double check exactly what we're running here. Yeah, Friday positions we don't take, but that one did happen technically. Yeah, this one did happen. It would, oh yeah, okay. I see what's going on here. It did happen on Friday, even though I do have Fridays ticked off, but because of the time zone, this one actually will work. Okay, yeah, so that actually does count. Well, obviously it counts because obviously the fucking algo's not going to get the entry wrong. Anyways, my point is that there is also another trend filter on it as well with the 2-day time frame. So anyways, when we have played out this particular setup throughout the full history of Bitcoin, we have seen, some pretty good results. 1 out of every 3 trades is a profitable trade with a profit factor of over 4. So that is good. That, or at least in my opinion, that's very, very good. Of course, sometimes it can be very difficult to please some of the YouTube critics, but it is what it is, man. We've seen, by the way, several of these fail in a row. Recently, going all the way back to the 26th of July, we've seen 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we've seen 3 failures in a row, actually. And again, this one does have about a 33% probability to actually win. So we would expect about one out of every 3 to win. So I don't know, maybe this is a gambler's fallacy, but perhaps the next one's a little bit more likely. Technically not. It's still 33%, but you know what I'm saying. Anyways, in this case, very simple way to be looking at this one. Look, as long as Bitcoin is closing above that 5 exponential, which is right now 58,900, or basically $59,000, this position would be open. And, well, we would be expecting a decent move to the upside. In fact, if we go back to the strategy tester, we can see that the average winning trade has returned. If I go into it, average winning trade has returned about 20%. The average losing trade losing about 3%. So, going back into it, if Bitcoin does lose here, close below $59,000, I mean, it's going to be like literally less than 1% loss, assuming that Bitcoin doesn't just completely shit the bed today, because things are very, very close right there. But of course, to the upside, if it does play this move out, which, at some point it will. At some point it will. Just who knows where price is when it actually does. 20% to the upside puts you, I mean, that puts you on a move back to like $70,000. Obviously, there's going to be some variance in those returns, and I would argue that you're probably more likely looking at about $66,000 to $67,000 if this does play out to the upside. But the way to be looking for it to, if it's going to be like a legitimate one, like a big one, is the same shit that we just looked at over here. Look. As long as Bitcoin's below, do we want to call it just like $62,000 on a closing basis, or 62,200, whatever the fuck it is. There's no threat of a move like that. The second that Bitcoin does, you're very likely to see a pretty quick move, probably somewhere between like 66 to 67,000 bucks. Maybe even you do get somewhere around 70. But for right now, it's in the cards yet again. Obviously, Bitcoin needs to maintain today's daily closure above 59,000 bucks. If it fails to do that, this is going to be yet another loss, a very small loss. You can see that the strategy is basically like paper cut, and then big money. Like you see right here, actually, this one, the last winning trade that this one did have, pretty damn good, about a 15% or 16.5% move right there. Not bad. But yeah, that's the way that this strategy does trade. Again, if you're looking for, insights into how to set this thing up, or if you want to set this thing up yourself and actually have it automatically be traded for you, you can use this service over here, the Krown Quant automation. We also have several other variations as well as complete, unrelated things to that as well, as far as strategy templates go for the people who are in that service. But yeah, just one of the very simple ways. I mean, this is like as simple as a fucking gets. Of course, you can optimize this significantly further. Anyways, moving on from there, just a reminder, as we do get the next 5-day closure, there are legitimate concerns right now, at least in my opinion. There are legitimate concerns with Bitcoin here, especially as long as Bitcoin's below, that $62,000 number. So we're going to see 5-day stochastic oscillator likely continue to the downside today, assuming that Bitcoin does not close today above 62,600. This is also playing out a trendline regression from the highs in March, which is, basically connected with all of the major highs that we've seen for the past, I guess, almost 6 months now, something like that. The longer that Bitcoin kind of stays within this region here, the worse and worse that it will look. But again, for myself, I personally will not look for like a major, massive monkeypox move to the downside until at minimum you're seeing daily closures below basically this week's low at $56,000. See something like that? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that there's like hopium no more. I think you got to get ready for a 4 handle on price overall. But for right now, give a little bit of time. We're still in August. We don't really expect much for August. So the more that Bitcoin just kind of, turns its wheels and just doesn't break down below 56, the better it will look. It's going to take time. So time isn't out. Well, it's not really an ally, nor is it an enemy. But look, if you're bearish, you want things to break down relatively soon, like probably within this next week or 2 at most, I'd say. The longer that Bitcoin just kind of holds this area, if it can get into like the midpoint of September, the better that it will look. But that's a long time to waste here. So anyways, that's where I'll leave things off. Again, if you just want the simplest chart, this would be it right here. All right. With that said, take care, much love, and see you hopefully next time.